Welcome, shackpackers, to Tales from the Shack. Step inside where the stories are cosy, but the chills run deep. This week, we bring you a short tale from the shack to ignite your imagination and possibly send a shiver down your spine. We're thrilled to have you join us, so grab your favourite brew, pull up a seat and swing that light, and let the magic of storytelling whisk you away. Steph came back to the shack yesterday. No fanfare, no ghost jokes this time. Just her usual brisk walk, thermal mug in hand, and a calm, no-nonsense attitude.
Right then, let's do this.
She'd been thinking, apparently. No, not about the so-called ghost, possibly. She made that perfectly clear. No, she was thinking about unexplained environmental shifts, she said. I told her that's just a very intellectual way of saying funny feelings and ghostly noises and whispers. She replied,
Yep, pretty much.
This time, she bought what she called an experiment kit, which included a dog whistle, a pendulum. Yeah, she didn't call it a pendulum. She called it a swingy thing that she'd made out of a big lump of metal and a bit of string. I called it a pendulum. Let's just hope it's not a Horcrux. She got an EMF detector. Whoa. From Temu. Temu. I have no idea if it's going to work. And the best of all, 2 pan au chocolats for sustenance. She stood in the centre of the shack and declared,
Today we test. Either it's haunted or you need better insulation.
She started with the pendulum, or the swingy thing as she called it, dangled it over the arm of a big chair, and it spun slightly, and Steph frowned.
Draft, maybe?
Then the dog whistle. She blew it. But what's that supposed to do exactly, apart from deafen me and bring all the dogs from the neighbourhood in? Steph raised a finger and shushed me.
Shh. Seemed like a good thing to do to me.
Silence was our answer. Zilch. Nada. In fact, bugger all. 'Cause absolutely nothing happened. And then she muttered under her breath.
Although, to be fair, if a ghost does show up, it'll probably be Hayes.
Yeah. Our dog Hayes. But inside the shack, well, it just suddenly felt really quiet and slightly odd to me. The room got noticeably colder, and the light dimmed slightly. And then a noise in the rafters made us both look up. Steph tilted her head, still looking up.
Crow on the roof? Bats in the belfry, perhaps?
We both looked at each other, shrugged, and sort of said, I don't know, maybe. Then Steph paused, looked round the room and said,
Well, that reaches a 2.0 on my weird shitometer.
Then she actually opened her notebook to explain more. Yes, she actually made notes this time, but wrote on the front page the freaking shack fear factor levels. Steph explained.
So the fear factor of 1 is what I'm calling, it's more intriguing than scary. Number 2 is something that is slightly eerie, maybe gives you goosebumps. 3 on our fear factor is an uneasy vibe or makes you check the shadows. Number 4 is something that is seriously spooky, unsettling, weird stuff. And 5 is full-on fright fest. Terrifying, sleep with the lights on, no thank you.
So what level are we at with the noises in the belfry?
I'm going with a 2, slightly eerie.
Okay, seems fair. A little later, as she sat by the fireplace, sipping tea and eating pain au chocolat, she muttered,
Okay, so if you are actually here, I wouldn't mind a kind of proper sign, and not that song. I saw the sign. Right, something meaningful, not too dramatic. We're not looking for anything crazy here, just unmistakable sign.
We watched in absolute fascination as our story light, the one that hangs in the middle of the shack, the one we always swing before we tell our stories, well, it swung. It seemingly swung all on its own. No wind, no draft. It was as if it had been swung by an unseen hand. Steph stared, took one long gulp of her tea, looked at me and said,
Oh, sure. Well, I'd bring a swingy thing and, what's the point in that? You didn't even need to. You swing your own swingy thing. Fine. That's fine. You do it on your own. Never mind. But to be fair, that's quite impressive.
We didn't speak for a while after that. We just sat in the comfy chairs, drinking our second mug of strongly brewed tea, feeling, well, not disbelief actually, more like reluctant curiosity.
Well, I'm still unsure about believing in actual ghosts, but if one has moved itself into the shack, then as long as it behaves itself and follows the rules, shows good manners at all times, this could be fun.
There was the faintest sound of a whispered sigh. We both looked at each other and smiled incredulously. What the heck were we dealing with here? Steph left a little notepad and a pencil on the windowsill before she left, with a short question at the top. It said, "Message for Steph," with a question mark. And in brackets, "No scary or evil messages allowed," close brackets. I wandered up to the shack this morning and checked all was well inside. Nothing seemed out of place, and then I noticed that sometime through the night, someone or something had actually drawn a very rough little stick-figured cat on the notepad. That's strange, I thought. Was that supposed to be Jed, our spirit shack cat? I turned the page and was stunned to see a second page that had actual writing. The writing was very neat, slanted slightly, like it had been written with a fountain pen, beautifully cursive, and as if it had been written with a point to prove. It said, "Your cat is friendly. Steph has awful handwriting." Underneath that was a signature, which said M. Witherblight. I was totally stunned. Who the heck? I blinked, and then I heard it, sort of in my head, a voice with sort of a clipped velvet tone.
"I do hope she returns. Rational company is so hard to come by these days."
I froze. And then a little... I certainly recognised the ahem. It was the same sound that I had heard when I found the business card. You remember, on that first day cleaning the shack, it was tucked behind the skirting board. cream with black lettering, a slight scent of lavender and mothballs. And it said Mortimer Witherbright, gentleman. But it went missing. I've not seen it since. Before I left the shack, I checked the notepad one last time. Amazingly, a third message had appeared. It said, again in the same beautiful cursive writing, "Do let her know that I approve of her scientific methods and the pastries. May I suggest that next time 3 pain au chocolats would be favourable?" Oh, and then a voice again.
Perhaps a proper china teacup and saucer?
Haunt you later. I bid you a spooky farewell.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's Tales from the Shack. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep your minds open, your lamps lit, and we'll see you all again next week at the freaking shack. Contact us at fshack03@gmail.com or find us on social media by searching #TheFreakingShack. That's freaking without a G. We're looking forward to hearing from you really soon.